Can you recall a race where one of your horses had an equipment issue or malfunction during the race and still managed to perform better than you can believe?
I remember at Vernon Downs quite a few years ago, I was driving a horse called Classic Work, and I was just going to the quarter and I felt my right arm drop back about a foot. And I thought I broke a line, but it wasn't a line, it was the bit that broke and came out of the horse's mouth. Luckily, this horse wasn't very aggressive, and I got him steered to the outside. Anyways, this horse went around everybody and won the race. And I after the mile, I asked the guy, I forget who it was, but I asked the guy, am I okay to get back to the winner's circle? And he says, I'd be getting back to the paddock pretty quick. You don't have much holding on to that bit right there. So that was a pretty good experience.
Not exactly, but I had a horse break the snaffle bit in two in behind the gate in Sarnia one night, and we ended up, the starter did a great job, got us slowed down, and I was able to get off and corral the horse up, and there was no issue. We obviously didn't get the race go, but we come out unscathed.
Yeah, actually, my own filly, Bob McIntosh and I owned, won the Fan Hanover in Woodbine. And she had a flat tire from just past the quarter pole, and I still ended up winning the race by riding on the inflated side of the seat.
Nothing crazy there. We've had some flat tires and still won the race, which is huge, disadvantage, but nothing too crazy, no.
We've had lots of flat tires, obviously. I think that's a common thing that you get a flat or something like that, but I can't really think of anything that sticks out to my mind. Lost lots of shoes and carried on.
Not any particular race. I think I've had a few horses that threw a shoe in the race that still won, which is kind of surprising, but other than that I can't remember any particular incident.
Actually, just the other day in Georgian, it's happened a lot and I've seen them race good, but my one horse, Trotter, he's really goofy and he lost a shoe going to the gate. And he was trotting good, and I didn't want to fire him up and bring him back in and have him put it'd be worse for him. So I left him, and then going into the first turn, his other front shoe, and he wore big heavy trotting shoes and flip flops. His other front shoe come up and hit me in the leg, so now I had no front shoes on, and he's usually really bad gaited and hips and skips, and he won pretty handy too. So I told him to race him barefoot.
Probably the most, I've had a few throw shoes and still race very well, but other than that, not really. Usually they race worse.
Well, I raced Stonebridge Regal in the Meadowlands Pace one year, and he had his front hobble hanger broke, and he still managed to be third, I believe. So that could have been a disastrous, but it was a bad timing on equipment break, but it worked out okay.
I had a trotter one time, the trotting hobbles broke, and they were flopping all over the place, and he still wins, so that was probably a good thing.
I've had a couple situations where I've had hobbles break and the horses actually keep pacing and keep going. Same with remember I had a horse for Carmen Alciello, Wild Wind, and he got really rough in the turns, and his trotting hobbles broke, and he was actually trotting a lot better without them.
Yes, I do have a story about that. Yeah, I had a good old horse I owned myself called Ombro Proposal, and leaving the gate, I see his hobble was out. And normally you just pull them up. So I got to the turn, I took a look, I couldn't see the hobble anymore. So I thought it maybe got caught up in his 2-minute hitch and was out of the way. So anyway, I finished the race, and when I was pulling him up, he had 2 loops in his back right leg. He'd stepped through it with his back leg and finished the race with the hobble on his back end there. Kinda, that's never happened before. Yeah.
Well, I had one time broke a hobble, and I thought he was a little bumpy down by the stretch, and wasn't really sure what was going on, and seeing after the hobble was broken, he still paced right to the wire, so that was pretty spectacular for him to do that.
Actually, it was years ago. I can't remember the horse's name, but I had just started driving myself. I had drove back then, and I had a horse, I was coming second over, and a hobble snapped right in half, and I kind of hesitated for a second, not really sure what to do, but she kept plugging along, and I think we got a check, and if I would have had a little bit more guts, I probably could have got more money in the race than what I did, but I was pretty nervous with the hobble flopping along there.
Faust Blue Chip one time broke his hind hobble hanger in a race, and he still finished the race.
Last year, well, it wasn't a big malfunction, but we always made a joke of it later on because the very first sire stake I had, Striking Patrick in, he won it, and we had the bike hook short on the one side and long on the other side. We didn't realize it until right after the race, and then he never won a race after that the rest of the year because we hooked him good, or how he was supposed to be. So I always said we should have hooked him crooked again.
I had a horse one time at Woodbine, this is going back about 10 years ago, that had a bowel problem pretty much the whole way around, and I was covered when I come in. So still managed to get third money. So I had to jump in the shower, I remember, right after the race, and it wasn't a fun sight to watch or feel.
I had a line on one of my horses break in behind the gate, and believe it or not, he got around the gate. They were able to have a recall, and the horse went around the track for 4 times, stayed right on the rail, and I stayed on the cart, and he just pulled up and went back to the barn. It was pretty unbelievable how well behaved he was. So.
There's a few times that the overcheck came undone, and we just kept going, and luckily nothing bad happened. And I can recall too, one time a hobble came undone, and we still end up winning the race. So you need luck.